Dr. Phil can't tolerate melodramatic guests. Hello and welcome back to Celeb Factor. We've seen Dr. Phil tolerate all his guests no matter how wild and erratic they behave. In all these videos on Dr. Phil, we've also learned that Dr. Phil can tolerate one thing: melodrama. Guests who try to be dramatic rather than being themselves receive the boot from Dr. Phil. In this video, we look at some more examples of guests who are melodramatic on the Dr. Phil show. Stay tuned, but before that, why not subscribe to the channel? Turn on the bell for latest updates and notifications from Celeb Factor. With that said, let's jump right into the content. The Pretender. First up, we have guest Glenn, who's one of the biggest pretenders we've ever seen. When confronted by two women for his poor behavior, it seems to trigger some emotion and intense anxiety in Glenn, or that is what Glenn wants us to believe. When being called out on live television, Glenn begins to show all the symptoms of an anxiety attack. He appears to have difficulty breathing and slurring his words, and it's fair to assume that when Glenn is suffering from his real, according to the two women, it's just pretentious. Well, it turns out Glenn is a good attack because this supposed anxiety attack gets so bad that he eventually collapses and falls to the ground. Now believe what you want, but in our opinion, such behavior is petty and just downgrades you as a person. And in the case of Glenn, he's absolutely pathetic. This is because he cheated on his wife at their wedding, and rather than apologize, he decides to be a coward. Dr. Phil has to take this situation seriously because of obvious reasons, but in reality, he's disgusted and decides not to say a word. Real panic attack. While Glenn's panic attack on the Dr. Phil show was a shame, it's not something to ignore, especially if you're a bystander and see someone suffering from a panic attack. These attacks are a serious health condition and can be dangerous not only to the person suffering, but can also affect people in their immediate surroundings like family, friends, and even strangers. This illness has a term, and it's called PTSD, or post-traumatic stress disorder. Normally, people who've gone through something bad in their life suffer from such anxiety attacks, which in some cases can be fatal. The most common groups of people who suffer from PTSD include soldiers, or people who've experienced a lot of destruction. There's actually one case of a woman on the Dr. Phil show who actually suffers from such mental illness. A bi claims to have those panic episodes up to 20 times a day, which, as you can guess, is horrifying and dreadful. While Abby suffered from one of these episodes while on the Dr. Phil show. Fortunately, Abby's family quickly came to her aid, and she managed to get through her episode quite quickly. This one was an incredibly scary moment for everyone on the show, including Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil gets angry. Dr. Phil is one of the coolest talk show hosts on TV. He rarely gets angry and can handle his unruly guests without losing his mind. However, there are a few cases of Dr. Phil losing his cool, and this incident is one of them. In one case, Dr. Phil gets angry with a woman who isn't taking what he's saying seriously on the show, and honestly, you can't blame the guy for this one. Dr. Phil makes it abundantly clear what he wants from this conversation, and that is for her to shut up. And let's just say it didn't take long for her to know who's boss, and she became silent very quickly. When on stage with Dr. Phil, you better be taking Dr. Phil seriously, or he won't hesitate to put you in place. Emotional trauma. Let's face it, gun violence is a serious problem. Not only does it affect people with physical injuries, the events can possibly scar you for the rest of your life. This is especially prevalent for a guest on the Dr. Phil show named Shauna. Now, Shauna's case is incredible since she survived a shot in the face. The shot, however, left her face deformed. This brought up a lot of issues for the poor woman, but what makes the case noteworthy is that she's confronting the woman who brought the pain on to her years later. The conversation between the two women results in some incredible heartbreaking stuff, and we've got nothing but respect for Shauna for facing the woman who has left such a negative impact on her life. It's also worth mentioning the woman who assaulted Shauna definitely regrets what she's done, but obviously her level of regret is nothing in comparison to the pain Shauna must feel every day. That brings us to the end of our video. Hope you enjoyed this one. Thanks for watching!